What's going on, family? Welcome to another episode of Family by Heart. It's a solo episode, except for not solo. It's just not an interview episode because I got Brandon with me. What's going on, Brandon? How you doing today, bud?
Happy to be here. Excited to go back and forth one on one here. It's like one v
I know.
one. Like we got it's like Jordan versus Bird. Like
There
ready
we
to rock and
go.
roll.
There we go.
Ready
I
to
mean,
go.
we've had some amazing guests lately and stuff. With just a great run of guests lately, and
Yes.
I'm so appreciative of Carrie Danger and Angela Kujata Banks, and Lee Mary Day Porch before that. Like we've had a
Yep.
really good run of guests lately, and we got some more great guests coming up that I'm looking forward to. One of which is in the middle of today, I believe, is when she's starting her ascent for the 29029 Everesting Challenge. So I'm sure we'll talk about that more later on. But a lot of good stuff going on. But first thing, I do want to address something you mentioned as we signed on here before we start recording. I am decked out in Tennessee gear, and that's because it's been a sad week here for the Family by Heart family, especially the Gruss and Latimer family. This past Friday, my mother-in-law, Carol Latimer, she passed away unexpectedly. She was actually supposed to be coming here today for celebrating my boys' birthdays this weekend. It was definitely unexpected, and we are just shook, devastated. It's the boys' first experience with death, and but the big thing, I just want to dedicate this episode to her because she was always fun, looking forward to having a good time, joking around, laughing, dancing, doing all the fun things. She was a great granny, and she was an incredible mother-in-law. Anytime I've posted things over the last few years that were focused on helping others, self-improvement, anything of any sort like that, she never hesitated to like it and say that she was proud of me. And she was proud of her girls, my wife and her two sisters, and proud of their families, the husbands and stuff. And so she just was full of heart, full of love, and she's going to be deeply missed. So this episode is for Carol Latimer. We love you. We miss you. All right. Well, we got that taken care of. Except for not. It's always going to be a deep hole that's
Yeah.
missing. It's been a rough week, like I said. Draco, I don't know. Has your family had to experience any kind of death in the family or anything like that yet, or pets or anything?
No, nothing. Nothing close. Where it was a family that we spent a lot of time with. Um, with them, with my kids being older, we've had, we've been to funerals and things with them, but it luckily it hasn't been anybody that they've been close with yet.
Mm,
So yeah, when it does happen, it'll be a first, and um, I don't know how that'll go.
yeah,
It's it's one of those things that I don't know if you can necessarily, prepare for, right?
yeah,
It's you don't know how the kids are going to react, because it's like, I guess, unprecedented almost.
yeah.
It's there's you can't it's, if it's your mother-in-law passed unexpectedly. If there's a different situation where there's kind of a long term, with
Hmm.
hospice involved and that kind of stuff, I'm sure that would be um, managed a little bit differently. But yeah, we haven't been hit with that yet. And so yeah, we'll keep you and your family and everybody in our prayers. And I hope that the boys, and you guys, are able to kind of process it and deal with it for the first time. It's something that, dealing for the first time, it's, like I said, hard to predict, hard to figure out how everybody's going to go, and it's not anything that you really practice for, and you hope that you don't have to deal with it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wish you guys nothing but the best,
Thank you.
and I hope that everything is as smooth as it can be with the situation.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, it's definitely been rough on my wife. We're definitely getting to a point. She's mother-in-law dealt with a lot of health issues over the last 2 years, and it seemed like
Mm,
she was coming out on the other side of it and had good things in place, good things ahead of her, and just I think she just got tired from the battling the last 2 years,
yeah,
and it happens, and as even though she went earlier and sooner than expected, um, she was always a fighter. My wife gets a lot of her strength and humor and resilience and grace from my mother-in-law, and I see that every day in her. And so
good,
while my wife is going through the struggle and the pain, I also see a lot of strength and um, love coming through that. The love that she had for her mom, and the love that her mom had for everyone that she came into contact with.
good,
So
good.
she will not be forgotten anytime soon. And like I said, Draco, he kind of doesn't really know what's going on. I mean, he just turned 4. Dracy has had a little bit harder time processing it. It didn't hit him at first, but then like a couple hours later, like he had his breakdown, and then he's had a
Hmm.
couple moments where he's broken down. But he's a trooper as well. So
Good.
we're doing what we're doing, you know.
Yep, that's all you can do.
Yep. So, um, in the meantime, you and I have had some discussions about what we wanted to talk about this week. And you made a comment about I keep looking at the picture, and I just feel like everything's darker. You made the comment when we had Carrie on, and like my beard is darker, and I swear I haven't been doing like hair club for men or any of that kind of stuff. Like if you look
Right.
closely, I got tinsel and stuff, but like you made a comment about my skin, like that I got like a tan going on. I don't. I really don't think so. Like maybe if I
Looks like
lean
you've
closer
been.
to the light, like I mean,
I don't know if you've been out doing yard work, if you guys have been out doing things, you've been hitting the tanning booth, whatever it is, man. You look like you've been tanning a little bit. Yeah, ready for the summer. A little time by the pool or whatever it is.
well, our pool isn't open yet. It was supposed to open Memorial Day, but that's homeowners association thing. So I'm not gonna go into that, you know.
So
But
when the boys go to sleep, do you like get one of those, those chairs that they fold in like that, and then you unfold them and they're like that, and they got like the like almost like the rubber tubes going across them. You break out one of those things and just do a little tanning in the
I
driveway.
can I can neither confirm nor deny that. Yeah, so no, I haven't been doing anything special tanning or anything like, and the yard work has been limited at best. I mean, we just had paid like a high school kid to come like and do like a ton of weeding for us. Like took out like a whole flower bed in the back and what used to be our garden, our attempt at a garden. Like he cleared that all out and stuff, and we're like, because I wasn't gonna have the time to do it or the energy with or the freedom to do it without being distracted by the kids.
So you'll have all the time. Just embrace what you got right now.
Yeah, yeah, but um, no, it's funny though. You talk about me being tan. When I lived in Florida and was a mailman for 7 years, I would get pretty dark, walking the streets. And I remember one of the times, like, uh, one of the routes I was delivering, coming across like some guys doing landscaping, and they started talking to me in Spanish. I'm like, I'm sorry, guys, I don't speak Spanish. Like, I don't like you're not Hispanic, like you're not Latino. I'm like, no, dude, like that's just me being in the sun 6 days a week, 360 some day, or not 360, but whatever the math is there, 310 to 320 days a year, something like that.
Okay.
Rough, but yeah. And then one of the times, good old Joyce Gruss, mom pulled one on me when they came down to visit one time, and they were staying at a resort. I came after work and was relaxing in their timeshare and stuff, and I took my socks, shoes off, and stuff, and I'm sitting there, and so Dustin, like, why don't you relax? Why don't you take your socks off? And I looked down, and it's because I had the real bad tan lines. Like my legs were so tan, but my feet were like a ghost white. And so I take your socks off. I'm like, Mom, I don't have socks on. She's like, I know.
So when
Like,
you were walking all day, when you were delivering mail, like what kind of shoes did you go with?
Normally it was New Balance. So they had, because the letter carrier union, you were supposed to wear like union certified like shoes and stuff like that. And most people wore New Balance. They had to be like all black shoes, which was
Okay.
interesting. You're walking in Florida and you had to wear like all black, like
Yep.
yeah, like your feet are gonna smell great at the end of the day wearing all black in the sunshine of Florida. Um, but the interesting thing was like because of my position, I could not. I only had so much like uniform allowance, and like me getting one pair of shoes would like take up the whole allowance. Plus, I don't know if you remember, like my nickname back in like elementary school, middle school was Bigfoot.
Yeah, I remember that.
So I always had the big feet and stuff. Well, the union didn't sell shoes my size. So thankfully, being in the Orlando, Florida area, there were plenty of outlet malls and stuff. So I would have to go to the New Balance outlet and I would get my shoes from there. But
Sounds discriminatory to me.
you know what? It was let's see, there's racism, ageism, and giganticism, I guess.
Yep.
So when it comes to feet,
Yep.
like they're, maybe I should. I don't think anyone will take my case if I try to go back and sue. But
You probably exceeded the statute of limitations on that, but it could have been like a slip and fall in a store or something, you know?
yeah, probably statute of limitation. July next month is 10 years since I've been home from Florida, which is mind-boggling to me. Like I can't believe I've been home for 10 years because I still remember things from being there like it was yesterday. And
Mm-hmm.
not to mention, oh, let's see, this summer is, well, right now we'd be hitting 24 years since we graduated high school. So, oof.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ugh.
Yep.
Next year is
Yep.
25 years, dude. Like,
25, man. 25.
uh.
You feeling it or what? Are you feeling 25 years out? At least it's easy for us to remember, right? Even when we get senile or more senile, it's easy to do the math on that since we graduated in 2000.
Right. Yeah, that's the nice thing is that we don't have to try hard with math. Like, well, how many years? But no, 2000. Okay, that's easy. Yeah. Um, no, I think it helps that we're part of the Berea crew that like for whatever reason, Berea is just like people don't seem to leave Berea. It's like either they get out for a little while and they come back, or like they're gone and gone for good. But like we still like can talk to and see so many people. They might not live directly in Berea, but they're still in the little pockets around. It's like, oh, any given day you could bump into someone that like that you went to
Yeah.
school with. And
The Berea High alumni golf outings in like 3 weeks. I
oh
think 3 weeks.
geez.
Next Friday, 3 weeks. I think it's the 28th.
Okay.
We've been doing it for like the last 3 years. And
Okay.
you see a lot of people that you haven't seen in a while, from all the
Right
classes.
on.
It's a good event. It's a good event.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Again, talk about how small Berea is and how small the world is, stuff like. So we were just a couple weeks ago, we were at our boys' godparents' house over in North Royalton. And we've been over there for like their kids' birthdays and stuff. So we're their kids' godparents and they're our kids' godparents. And so we're over there a lot of times, and often we see their next door neighbors, and they have little kids, and so they're always over for the picnics and cookouts and all that stuff too. And I've only ever really seen the wife. Well, this particular time, the husband came over. He got home from work, came over, and introduced myself. I'm like, dude, you look really familiar. Like, where? How did I know? Like, did you go to Berea or something? And then I realized I coached him in track at Rame while I was still
Really?
going to Berea and stuff. It's like, oh my gosh, like, yeah. So we just
All right, old man.
trip down memory lane, and then come to find out, like, and of course I tell my wife, like, I know this guy. He went to Berea. I coached him. It's like, of course you know someone else from Berea. Like, of course. Well, then I see and hear my wife and our friend Emily and the wife talking, and she's like, "Oh, that's why that name's familiar." Come to find out, dude's wife lived on the corner of West Lawn and West, where I grew up. So it's like, what? How
In that,
crazy is
wasn't there like a red barn on the corner right there or something?
not that corner, the opposite corner. So there's like
Okay,
a white house with a fence with like that German shepherds, and like she's like, oh yeah, those were our dogs. I'm like, get
that's
out of here.
crazy.
Yeah,
Yep,
and
that's
like one of the
crazy.
times, like I think one time, like Dave was locked out of the house. Like he went to the house for whatever reason to make the phone call and stuff. So I'm like, oh yeah, that sounds about right. I'm like, huh, it's just
I
small,
remember having
small
to do
world.
stuff like that. And like, if you tell that story to like, just to like a kid, it's like, oh, what? You mean to just use a cell phone?
Well,
Yeah. It's like, no,
and
we had to knock on strangers' doors and ask them if we could use phone.
well, and that's another thing. It's like talking about kids not realizing it. That's one of my stories for when I do my public speaking stuff is I talk about you never know what someone has gone through and stuff. And I talk about when I was 18, I delivered pizza for East Chicago Pizza. And I remember we had this one guy that he was just known for not tipping well, was always short people, crass, like just
Hmm.
didn't ever say anything. And I remember one time so I had to deliver to his house and same thing as usual. Like I tried small talk with him. I've always been a kill him with kindness kind of person. So I tried small talking with him. He just kind
Hmm.
of gave me like 1, 2 word answers, grunted and that kind of thing. And then I get back to my car after getting the money from him, not very big tip at all or anything. And I left my keys in my car. The car's still going.
Oh,
And
oh
because
man.
it was back then, I was 18, did not have a cell phone yet because I didn't get a cell phone until I went to college. So I then had to go back to the door where this guy's already grumpy, doesn't like talk to people, interrupt his hot dinner that he just got to say,
He just waited for.
yeah, he's with, can I use your phone? I left my keys in your car. So my car is going to be in your driveway for a bit too. So I had to go home. Thankfully, back then we remembered you would know your phone numbers instead of
Yep.
just everything programmed in your phone now. But I had to call my dad um, to come with my spare keys and let me in the car. But the reason I tell that story is because in my public speaking I do is because after I got off the phone, I thanked the guy for letting me use the phone. I looked over and in his house he had like this intricate display of autographed baseballs. So I'm like,
Mm.
oh, that's a very cool like baseball display out there. And that like lit the guy's face up. He's like, "Oh, you like baseball?" I'm like, "Yeah, I love baseball." So he went and grabbed a couple of his favorite baseballs. I think one was signed like by Eddie Murray, like Indians legend, baseball legend stuff. So it just and all of a sudden we just started sharing stories and stuff. And the guy was so nice, so friendly. And then we like totally lost track of time. Next thing you know, my dad is knocking on the door as me and this guy are just standing there talking. And it's like, oh my gosh, like I didn't even notice, like time just flew by.
Lost track of time.
Yeah. Next thing I knew, the guy's saying, thank you so much for talking to me. Like, and I'm really sorry if I'm short with you guys. My wife passed away last year
Mm.
and she was my world. She was my everything. I just don't know how to talk to people anymore. And like, I'm
Yeah.
really sorry. And from that day on, that gentleman would anytime he ordered, he would see if I was working and he would request me for deliveries stuff. And so it was just like you never know what someone's
You
going
don't.
through. And sometimes you just gotta take the advantage to look and survey the situation and compliment them or something. And that could just break the whole wall down on people
Hmm.
and get them to open up. So
Yep.
that's a good thing to remember for Men's Mental Health Awareness Month too. So you speaking of, you sent me a awesome TikTok message yesterday, and I just want to say thank you for that. Like, just
Yeah.
I appreciate you and proud of you, man. And I'm
Yeah.
glad you're here.
After we talked to Angela, when we were talking with her, I like Instagram Reels and I like TikTok for the quote inspiration type stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have been trying to send and post more things that I think I can relate to and that other people can relate to.
Mm-hmm.
And but it's like when you, it's kind of a double-edged sword, I've noticed. So if I'm in a good spot, I get a lot of these inspirational things. I'm like, man, this is good. I scroll to the next one. Man, this is a good one. I go to the next one. This is a good one, man. These are all just hitting today. Like they're all perfect, right?
Right.
But those days, weeks, whatever, that you're not in a good spot, I feel like the same thing happens. It, you start getting all these like tired dad and this kind of stuff. Like, and so it like brings you deeper into like whatever you're into. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like it's a double-edged sword. Like so like if you're in a rough spot, in a trouble spot, something that you're trying to dig out of, whatever it might be, like you almost have to avoid it.
Mm-hmm.
Or I don't know. It's tough when you're not in a good spot and you're going through stuff like that because with whatever algorithms they kick out content that they feel is relevant to you at that certain point. And if you're in a rough spot, they send you some stuff that is like, yeah, this is gonna keep me in a rough spot.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so when I come across the positive stuff, the good stuff that I think that not only is um, uh, good and almost good at that point, I like to share them with people that I know, that it also helps. I find quotes and things like that very relatable, and they help me. I like them.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I've started reposting and everything like that on social again with that kind of stuff because I just think they're cool, and I think that you send something out and that could hit one person right on the right day, and
Mm-hmm.
you can help them out. So
Yeah.
but a lot of them are cool. And when we get into some of the things that I think that we're going to talk about today, I have another one that I found, and I like those, and I got that one. I'm like, oh man, I'm sending this thing to Dustin.
Well, I appreciate it, man.
Yep.
Appreciate it. Uh, yeah, so I definitely agree with trying to pass those things on. I used to collect those positive quotes and all that too, and would like put my logo and stuff on them before it was Family by Heart. It was Step Up to Greatness, and I'd put those out, and it's always nice when you get someone to respond to it right away. Like I try to make sure, like, because you took the time to send that to me. I'm sure I'm not the only one who sent that to, but I still wanted to say, hey, dude, I appreciate that stuff. That really meant a lot to me. Um,
You are the
but
only one that I sent that to. I can see you blushing through that tan.
Brandon, oh boy. Oh man. All right, I'm feeling the love. But
Feeling it.
no, it's nice when you do get that kind of response, and like you never know who that actually hits in the right time stuff, because I remember doing that before, and I had someone that from her church that she reached out to me because she's like, I just want to let you know, like a post you made like last year, it really hit me, and since then I've gone on to become a Zumba instructor, and so now I'm doing that, and it's not my main hustle, but it's like a passion, and I'm just loving it. And so I just want to thank you. I'm like, oh my gosh, like that made me feel like so good knowing that hit them. So there's the good things you put out, the good will come back to you, and that's what you gotta hope for. But at the same time, I get what you're saying too with the algorithms just finding you when you're down,
Mm-hmm.
and hitting you with those. And I don't know if it's because Big Brother is listening or watching what you post or listen
Oh
to on
yeah.
your phone or whatever it is. But it's you mention a product with a conversation. Next thing you know, you open your phone and there's a Amazon ad on Facebook for, hey, there's the thing
Yeah.
you're looking for. I'm like, huh, okay, that's creepy. So, but when since your algorithm shows up those posts you don't want to see when you're in a down mood, what do you do to get out of that down mood yourself?
I stopped going on social for a little bit when that happens. And there's a lot of other things, not a lot, but there's other things that, other tools that I've come to find that help me to get out of places like that. There's a couple books that I have on my phone, a couple audio books that are kind of mindset type things that if I get
Nice.
into a spot, then I'll start listening to those for a little bit. It'll get me back out of it. Or therapy sessions, whatever it might
Right on.
be. Yeah, and then get back into it, and then miraculously, your reels and all your TikTok stuff is back into the positive note. So it's yeah, it's good. It's you almost have to try to mess with the algorithm a little bit.
All right. Now,
But
do you ever find that like when you're in that, like either sad, depressed, angry, whatever, that sometimes like you you kind of feed that beast first before you get out of the algorithm? Like sometimes
yeah,
like, because I know we talk about music and weather to mood change stuff. So sometimes you're you're angry, whatever, you gotta listen to like
Yeah.
that rap, the rock, the metal, the whatever, and like work it out, scream it out, whatever you gotta do. And then like, okay, now I'll listen to that audiobook and stuff. To go into that
Yeah.
mode.
Yeah, for sure. It's almost like it's like an athletic event almost, like you're losing, and you got to make that comeback, make the comeback, and then you're good. You just got to break out of it. You got to find some way to break out of it, and whether that is to kind of hit it head on,
Right.
or to it depends what it is, right? What kind of got you
Right.
there? Sometimes you don't know what got you there. It's just been a rough
Right.
few days or whatever. But yeah, I think that so you got to deal with it. You have to deal with it
Yeah.
first, because if you don't deal with it, it's going to come back up in a couple of days. You
Yeah.
can kind of suppress it for a little bit, but you can't suppress it forever. You
Right.
know, so you got to
Yeah.
deal with it. You can't run from stuff. I mean, we're 42 at this point,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's like you can try to avoid stuff or ignore it for a little bit, but not very long. It doesn't last very long. It'll
Yeah.
always be kind of hanging around. And I feel like when you let things hang around, it's just worse, right? And then you wake up at 3 in the morning and all of a sudden you got this stuff going on in your head. It's like, man, if I would have just dealt with this shit like 3 days ago, I'd be clear right now. I'd have a clear headspace right now. So, I think that a lot of that comes with age and experience. Where
Yeah.
when I was younger or whatever, just try to, avoid it, whatever. It'll go away. It'll go away. It's a bad thing. I'm just going to avoid it.
Yeah.
Where now it's like, all right, I got to deal with this. I got to figure out how to beat it. And then it'll be clear. And then when you figure out how to clear these different things, how to beat these different things, then they're not going to come back. And then you have it happening less and less because you figured out, okay, so I'm getting, this certain thing is getting me into a bad spot. Okay, I got to either get away from whatever this is, if it's a person, if it's a place, if it's a event, whatever it might be, situation, you got to find a way to either beat it and deal with it or
Yeah.
to rid yourself of it, one or the other. But you can't just let things hang around anymore. Too old for that
Absolutely.
stuff, man.
Absolutely. No, I agree. And I think, again, that's why Mental Health Awareness Month, especially for men, is so big. Make sure that, again, I think why the two of us are huge supporters of therapy and
Mm-hmm.
getting that. And there's so many ways to do it now. And again, it's there shouldn't be a stigma around it anymore that there is. And there's also, it's so much more readily available these days than it was just 5-10 years ago. I mean, there's apps for it. There's
Yep.
programs. Most HR offices have EAPs, like
Yep.
employee assistance programs, where you can get so many sessions for free. Or if you have good enough insurance, that usually is covered by your insurance. So it's just, I think, making sure you are sorting through it and going through it. And then I know, again, this season 3 here, like just the fact that we started later and been a lot of processing on my side of things. I feel like I'm so much better of a place now than it was to start the year,
Good.
as far as mental and handling things and being able to be supportive of my wife in this season, this time for um, handling her mom's death and um, it's just being able to take care of yourself. But the other thing I will say, when it comes to when you're in that dark space, or you're just feeling down, maybe it's not something you have to sort out, but we're in Cleveland, maybe it's a couple gray days in a row or something like that, and it's just you're just feeling mopey, sad. One great thing that E.T., the hip hop preacher, otherwise known as Eric Thomas, or reading one of his books, The Secrets to Success, is having a rainy day box. And it's something that you could have a physical copy, or it could be in your phone. Like you have a virtual copy, I would say, in your phone, because you have those audiobooks that you've listened to. You probably have some songs on your phone
Yep.
and other things. You have pictures, all your pictures on your phone. So those are the kind of things that you would bring out on a rainy day that like lift your spirits, get you out of it.
Mm-hmm.
So your rainy day box physical could be, again, pictures, a movie, a favorite movie that has always pumped you up. Major League, anybody, big Indians, Guardians fans, that kind of stuff. Anything Robin Williams, that kind of stuff that just makes you laugh.
Yeah.
Um, It's that kind of thing. Like a rainy day box is a great tool to have, and it sounds like you already have some of those things in your tool. You just maybe didn't know to call it a rainy day box before.
Yeah, and I think we talked. I'm not sure who we talked about it with, but I think that two of the biggest things you just touched on that can change moods are music and weather.
Yep.
And I always say it's hard to be in a bad mood when you got sunglasses on.
Yeah.
You got your sunglasses on, you're driving. You've got some good music going. Like you're fine. Like you get
Yeah.
yourself back into a good spot, and
Yep.
I have probably 7 or 8 songs that I have on my phone that are like, I know that if I'm in a bad mood that day, if I wake up, I'm on the wrong side of the bed, whatever it might be, I play a couple of these, I'm good to go. Good to go.
There you go.
And you kind of get your mind squared, set away, and you're ready to go for the rest of the day. And you
Yep.
can change your mood very fast.
Yeah. And maybe that's why some people wear sunglasses at night too. It's
Yeah, that might be it. That might be it.
had to
we'll
throw at
go with
least one dad joke in there.
we'll
You
go
gotta.
yeah, we'll go with that reason.
All right. Speaking of dad jokes and all things dad, one of the things we had talked about uh, discussing in this episode was raising children with good self-esteem, how to empower their self-esteem and their beliefs in themselves. And you sent me the other day. You sent me an interesting quote from Frank Martin, the South Carolina head coach, basketball coach.
Yep.
Um, said, "You know what makes me sick to my stomach? When I hear grown people say that kids have changed. Kids haven't changed. Kids don't know anything about anything. We've changed as adults. We demand less of kids. We expect less of kids. We make their lives easier instead of preparing them for what life is truly about.
Mm-hmm.
We're the ones that have changed." And yeah, I mean, like, how much do you think that ties into like the participation trophy world that we live in, and that kind of stuff? Like, do you think we're babying kids too much? Do you think we're letting them get away with more? Like,
I,
or
I think
specifically
kind of
for
like,
you?
yeah, I mean, kind of like what the coach said. I think that when kids are being raised, they don't know how they're supposed to be raised, and there really is no how you're supposed to be raised. Like, there's not
Right.
one way to do it, and that's why there's not one
Hmm.
book on how to parent. You know, um,
True.
so it's like as a parent, you have to set boundaries and expectations, and
Hmm.
that's where your kids live. They live within their boundaries, and they will push them and wait till your kids are my age, and they'll push them and push them and push them. um but that's what they're supposed to do. They're kids. They're supposed to push boundaries. They're still trying to figure out where they fall into the world.
Hmm.
And with as a parent, if you're not setting expectations as far as effort and attendance or attitude or whatever it might be,
Hmm.
then how is the kid supposed to know? So I just think that the participation trophy in all circumstances is kind of defeats the purpose of what sports specifically are trying to teach people.
Hmm.
I'm very big on sports. I've coached both my kids since they've been allowed to play sports all the way through. And I think that sports build a work ethic. I think it builds team camaraderie. I think it develops the skill of teamwork and being coachable and
Hmm.
learning and doing all these and working through things that are difficult. And when if a kid catches on to, okay, if I give 100% effort or I give 0% effort, I'm still going to get this trophy at the end of the game, at the end of the season, whatever it might
Hmm.
be. I think it almost defeats the purpose. And
Gotcha.
and I don't want to like mix it up. Like I'm not like when it comes to coaching and parenting kids through sports like that. I'm not like a Bobby Knight. Like I'm not like a throwing chairs and crazy like that.
I
But
hope not.
I feel like sports is there to build skills that the participation trophy defeats the purpose of. I think it almost contradicts the overall goal and point of all of it. And that's just kind of my feeling on it, and I think that back to that quote, it's that the kids don't know, the parents are the ones that are expecting different. I think that correlates very close together. Where so the kids are going out there and there's these leagues that they don't keep score, and it's just everybody gets a trophy, everybody gets recognized the same way. Where I think that de-incentivizes hard work and things like that. And I just think that that's just not the way that life is.
Mm.
Um, and I think that teaching that um, teaching that to kids that are impressionable and learning their way through life, to have expectations of you just have to show up and you're going to get a reward. Um, I just don't agree with that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
that's kind of my take on the participation trophy. I'm sure that, somebody can make an argument as far as it's appropriate in certain circumstances, which maybe it could be.
Yeah.
This is a kind of a general point of view, but it's this not something that I am supportive of. Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. It's probably certain circumstances because, like, for instance, my boys participated in this program called Young Athletes through the Special Olympics, and where they
Mhm.
just would go to a rec center and they have focus on a different sport each time. The first year, Geraci participated, and he kept doing. He was great staying out there. Draco, as it went on, like he didn't want to go in the room, so I just didn't have him go in the room anymore. Well, then this past spring season, we didn't even have Draco go in. He just stayed out with me in the hallway. And then um, when it came time for, at the end of it, that each kid gets a medal, even though it was like a competition, each kid got rewarded a medal. Like, Dracy got a medal, and I was fully supportive of him getting a medal because he was doing great jobs participating, being out there.
Mhm.
And Draco was like, start crying, like, well, why don't I get a medal? I'm like, because you were out here. You weren't in there. You weren't even willing to give it a try.
Mhm.
So, fast forward to now, it's just Draco that's in T-ball. And I messaged you about this last week
Yeah.
about like,
Yeah.
it's so like, I'm so confused and so at a loss. Like, yes, it's cute and adorable to see the kids, just like the little 3, soon to be 4-year-old, now 4-year-old, but then 3 to be 4-year-old kid playing in the dirt, having no awareness at all of the ball, the bat, anything going on. And then like his first at bat, he ran to third base, and then eventually, like, he finally, like, after 4 things, he finally ran to first base after it.
Mhm.
But I remember saying to you, I'm like, it's cute, but it's also frustrating because like I'm so used to playing like, okay, again, we're 42, so we have over 30 years experience playing the game. So
Mhm.
to then see a kid not doing it, and so like I at Draco's game, like I spent part of it like trying to talk to him, like, come on, buddy, you gotta pay attention to then the next half, like just standing back from everyone else because I didn't want to look like the parent that's like
Yeah.
the Bobby Knight and yelling at his kid, like, oh,
Yeah.
you gotta be out there, because there was a woman on the other team that like I think she was like the grandma, and she was very much like, everyone's like kind of looking like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, like there she goes, like, but um but again, I think those two things, like, it's Draco will probably get a participation thing, but my wife, she, God bless her, like she stepped in to said, like, I think I'm gonna help coach. And she came up with ways to get the kids participating and active and paying attention,
Mhm.
and it worked real well. And it'll be interesting to see how much that carries over for her and stuff, like, and for the team as the season goes on. But I know, for me, I'm like, I can't do that. Like, to have those little kids not listening, not playing the game right, and like, I can't do it.
Well,
I'll coach when the kids are older and stuff, like, and I can teach them a little bit more about the game. But like right now, I'm like, I'm not in that headspace to do it, and I want to be
and I think
dad teaching them,
yes.
but at the same time, it's not where I'm at.
And I think that you kind of hit the nail on the head right there. Like it's so I feel that I feel like as a so the kids so as a youth coach, all the kids mature at a different rate, right?
Mm-hmm.
Their interest changes, they mature differently. So I think your job as a youth coach is to, I really think the only way that you really fail as a youth coach is you make the kid that walked into the sport, the practice, the game excited. You have them walk away not feeling excited. I
Mm-hmm.
think your job as a youth coach is to one coach. So you're saying, that he ran to third base instead of first base. Well, those are coachable, correctable moments,
Yeah.
and that's what you're supposed to do as a youth coach, right? And that's what kids are supposed to do as kids. They do things that are wrong, and that's why the coach is there. But I think the worst thing that a youth coach can do is discourage a kid.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think that comes through participation trophies. But I think that as a youth coach, your job is to teach the kids the fundamentals. And as you teach them the fundamentals, like you said about your wife, find fun ways to do it. It's fine. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
need to be. It doesn't need to be. You don't need to be a drill sergeant. Find fun ways, but still coach. Because the kids, as a life skill, they need to follow directions, things like that. Like that's a life skill that you have to do your entire life. So I think that I think that first of all, I think that youth sports are fantastic, and
Mm-hmm.
I think that coaches, especially at an early age, can very much determine whether or not the kid is going to play anymore. And that's why I wish there was more of a education program for youth coaches, because your job as a youth coach is to teach, to educate these kids, to have them have fun, but to keep them interested in the game, the sport, whatever it might be, and so that they play next year. If you have 10 kids on your team and only 6 play the next year, it's on the coach. It really is.
Right.
There's some sort of an environment that you set up there that the kids did not want to continue on with you or with the sport or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. And I think that that's really the only way to fail as a youth coach. You don't have kids play again the next year. As soon as that happens, I think that that's a big failure to the kid. Um, and that's frustrating.
Yeah.
But I think that's completely separate from these participation trophies.
Yeah.
But again, I think that everything that you described, I think, is very common for that age and for t-ball. But
Yeah.
is so it would be an issue if he was still doing it on the third week, right?
Right.
If he does it the
Yeah.
first week, that's what everybody plans on, right? Like
Right.
they're not going to have proper form on fielding grounders and be firing
Yeah.
missiles across from third base to first base and
Yeah.
not even be connecting with the ball every time or even every other time. But as
Yeah.
long as you see that progress and the progression from week to week to week, that's what you need, because that is the life skill that sport is teaching you, that you can constantly learn, constantly focus and get better and improve. And that's not just in that specific sport, that's in life. And that's what I think sports is good for, is you teach life lessons inside of a small sports team, and that kind of builds people up to be able to do what they, if you're in fifth and sixth grade or 5 and 6 year old t-ball,
Yeah.
some of these skills that you're developing are going to be good for entering college and having to meet new people and
Mm.
socialize with new people and put yourself in an environment that you're not necessarily comfortable with, but find a way to get through it to the next day until it is comfortable. And I think those are the kind of things that sports, and specifically youth sports, teach. Um, and I just and that's just, yeah, I think they're fantastic as long as it's the right environment. And I think that the youth coaches really um, determine that environment. And the worst thing that they can do is have a kid not want to play the next.
Well, again, probably great that I'm not coaching them right now, because I want to keep that fun for the kids and stuff. And then I will say, after that game, my dad and I both took both boys and we ran the bases afterwards to show
Yeah,
them the right way, and
fun.
we made it fun and everything. So we'll
Hmm.
say I've recovered a little bit there and going the right way. But it's probably best that I'm not the one I'm fun dad in other ways, but uh, right now that coaching part isn't me in that aspect.
As long as you
Now,
don't carry it outside of it, so like the practice is over, the game's over, you get in the car, clean slate. You
yeah,
have to do that. You have to have that boundary. Okay, so it's practice starts at 9 o'clock. At 8:45, son, daughter, get into practice mode, get into game mode. Okay, the
yeah,
game's over. It's 10 o'clock. That's it. It's done. It's now we're moving on to the next part of the day. You know what I mean?
right,
As soon as I think, and I learned that after a couple of years, like to, let's say, we had a game with Brooke and something went well or didn't go well, to talk about it in the car on the way home. Then they start dreading going to the game because, oh, this is going to whatever. And I think that you,
Yeah.
as a parent, as a coach, as an adult, you need to draw that line, or else it's not fun for the kids. And sports
Yep.
should be fun. It should be fun.
Absolutely. And I think there's another thing to hit on before we wrap it up here and stuff. And as far as participation trophies go, or how building a kid's self-esteem based
Yep.
off of the results, like we want to make sure that you're not just telling them great job or giving them a reward no matter how good they did. I
Mm-hmm.
think what we want to be rewarding is their effort, the effort they put in. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to email a list from a program called Transforming Toddlerhood. And even though it's toddlerhood, this email still very much, I think, resonates with as the kids get into their preteens, teens, and even us as adults. How often do you say to your kids based off of how something they did, great job, good job, like you did that very well, or you're so smart, you're such a good artist? And instead of just feeding them that compliment based on results, the email just talks about making sure that you're complimenting them on the effort that they put in, the work that they're
Yep.
doing, that their creativity, like, oh my gosh, like that is, you could really tell you put in some effort there. How did it feel when you did it? Can you explain that to me? And I think giving them that affirmation for whether they did something good or bad, but letting them know that you are proud of them and you were interested in them through the
Mm-hmm.
whole process, I think
Mm-hmm.
is so vital in raising kids with good self-esteem. Because how many times do you, whether it's your friends or it's on a TV show or something, I could think of like Robin Scherbatsky on How I Met Your Mother, like how she was always looking for her dad's approval and stuff. And how often are we always just looking for our parent just say, I'm proud of you. Like
Yeah.
so a lot of people spend so much time in their life looking for that affirmation, where you could just be giving it to them in simple ways, and you don't have to say it based off of the person they become or how them going, whether they went 3 for 3 in a baseball t-ball game or 0 for 3, telling, oh my gosh, you really put in effort today, like how did it
Yep.
feel, like what can you do better, like engaging with them and let them know that you saw them put in the effort, you saw them be excited about something, or maybe their feelings hurt and you're taking the time to let them know you saw them, so that they're always feeling supported and loved.
Yeah, 100%. I completely agree with everything you just said. And, that kind of goes along with making sure that, putting them in a mindset that they're going to continue to want to keep going. The one thing not one thing, but I always tell my kids and the kids that I'm coaching, the one thing that you can control in these practices and these games is your effort. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else is out of your control. Put in the effort and that's it. You want to complain about referees or umpires or whatever, you have no control over that. Oh, the other team is way better or way worse. You have no control over that.
Right.
It's all the only thing you can control is the amount of effort that you put into it. And to your point, as a parent, you should recognize that. You recognize the effort. Not every kid is going to be, a major league baseball player or professional sand volleyball player or whatever. But like, if they keep putting in the effort, then, they'll have fun. They'll meet people doing it. They'll make lifelong connections and friendships. And that's really what it's all about.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, we've had to put in quite an effort to get this episode in, as my kids have interrupted a few times today, but that's all good. It's now it's time to put in the effort of being dad and having fun this weekend as we celebrate the boys' birthdays. So,
Yep.
Brandon, it's good always bouncing back and forth with you, man. This is a great episode, great fun. Hope you have a good weekend, and we'll get back to it next weekend, or next week, I should say.
Next week. Sounds good.
Yep.
Good luck this weekend with the birthday party. And I hope again, sorry to hear about your mother-in-law, and I hope everything kind of goes good with that.
All right. And as for everyone else, like, we've talked about having your rainy day box, talked about having your sun tanning box, which apparently I'm using. We've also talked about family, being supportive for your family, your friends, supporting people through inspirational messages. No matter what way you look at it, you can really lift someone's day just by sending them a message, let them know that you see them, that they're heard, that they're important. You all that are listening to us, watching us, you are important to us. You're part of the family. You might have been born into your name, but we're all family here. This is Family by Heart. Till next time.